Bonsoir tout le monde. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our regular scheduled meeting of May 8th, 2023. Item 1, roll call. All members of council are present and accounted for. I'll ask everyone to please stand for the territorial land acknowledgement statement and moment of reflection, followed by the national anthem.
Nous reconnaissons que nous sommes sur le territoire non cédé des Anishinaabe et les terres traditionnelles des peuples Haudenosaunee, Huron-Wendat et Kanien'kehá:ka. Nous reconnaissons notre obligation commune de respecter, d'honorer et de préserver ces terres et les ressources naturelles qu'elles contiennent.
Whereas Canada is founded upon principles that recognize the supremacy of God and the rule of law, let us take a moment of personal reflection. Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much. Item 4, additions, deletions, or amendments. We have one change and one addition. Item 11B will be presented before item 11A. And under 18B, myself for June 26th meeting as a topic. Anything else, Todd? No? Item 5 then, adoption of the agenda. Motion to approve the agenda as amended and need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Ternosky, seconded by Conseiller Lalonde. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 6, déclaration d'intérêt pécuniaire. Hearing seeing none. Item 7, l'adoption des procès-verbaux. Procès-verbal de la séance ordinaire du Conseil du 24 avril 2023. Procès-verbal de la séance extraordinaire du Conseil du 27 avril 2023. Motion d'approuver le procès-verbal tel que présenté. Besoin d'un proposeur puis un appuyeur, s'il vous plaît. Conseiller Lorrain puis conseillère Deakin. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 8, presentations, we have none. Item 9, delegations, we have none. Item 10, motion that all items listed under consent items be received as presented. Item A, flag raising request for Pride Week 2023 from June 17 to June 26. Request B, request for community grants from the Parks and Recreation Department 2023 budget. Item C, minutes of the Accessibility Advisory Committee of February 15th, 2023. Item D, procès-verbal du comité sur le logement abordable et réalisable du 30 mars 2023. Item E, procès-verbal du comité pour les adolescents du 18 avril 2023. Et item F, procès-verbal des comtés unis de Prescott-Russell du 22 mars 2023. Need a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Lorrain, seconded by Councillor Lalonde. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 11, reports from departments and council committees. We're starting off with item B, financial statement for 2022, report FS 13 2023. The council received report FS 13 2023 dated May 8th, 2023 and approved the 2022 financial statements presented by BDO Canada. our external auditors, and authorize the mayor and another member of council to sign the consolidated statement of financial position. Mr. Fonin? Yep, you're on.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Gives me pleasure to introduce a representative from BDO. I'll leave her to do the introductions herself.
Thank you very much. Bonjour, Annick.
Bonjour, merci. Avec quelle que je commence? Mais quelle qui est dans l'ordre? C'est quelle que vous avez dans l'ordre de premier?
On va juste le mettre sur l'écran.
Okay, so thank you. I know you have the package, so we'll go high level. Some of you have heard this spiel a couple of times. I guess each year is different, but it's similar. So if there's questions, you can let me know. So on page 2, let's skip 3 pages. That's the summary of the audits. At this point, the audit is completed. We've done it in late March, early April. So the only outstanding items would be approval from council and then updating subsequent events, as well as signing representations letters, and then the summary, or I guess, statement of responsibility from management. Materiality, so you did receive our planning report dated January 16, so the audit was done as planned. A couple of changes is materiality, so we had initially used $1 million, and then based on final numbers, we used $1.2 million. So c'est bon, that's later on. So on page 4, you have the audit findings. So basically, we have to report back all the significant risks identified in the audit. It looks a bit different than in the past, so we had to identify, I guess we adopted CAS 315R, so basically identification of risks. There's more risk to be identified and addressed in the files. With that being said, we only need to report back significant here, so the same ones that you would have seen in our planning report, similar to what you've seen in the past, and then how we've addressed them, and then the findings are all none or nothing significant to raise to council. So please skip a couple of pages to the adjusted differences in Appendix A. Basically, those are all the entries that were posted. They were all done in a quick, I guess, discussion with management, and they agreed with them. There's no uncorrected misstatements, so basically if there's anything that we find that we would sometimes put on the summary of an adjusted misstatements, there's nothing. So everything you see in Appendix A is everything we found. Appendix B has a couple of recommendations. So we did discuss those with management. Some of the points were there last year, but we kept as reminders because they will affect 2023. So the changes to PSAB would be one of them. And then the points from the information systems auditors as well to see how they can be addressed. So before we go to the statements, I don't know if there's questions on the audit work itself.
Okay. Conseiller Tarnowski?
I just have a question, pardon me, pertaining to the vacation liability. And so I know that there is an HR plan, and I know that we have a reserve to address it, so I'm not concerned about it right now. But it's more a question pertaining to the policy, so I'm not sure if it could be answered. But I know that we are working on a policy in the future. I was just wondering, what is the timeline for that policy, please?
Okay. Mr. Fonin?
Thank you very much, members of council. Yes, I've discussed this with the treasurer as well. I am actually a little bit concerned about it because I don't want to hold the liability. So we do have an effective policy in place, meaning we have practices that require everybody to take the appropriate amount of leave and only to carry over a very limited amount. Codifying that is what's coming. We're actually working down quite a bit of that leave as well right now. There are some who carry more than we would want them to, partly because of the pandemic period as well. There was a lot of people who carried over quite a bit and couldn't take the leave at all. So that'll take a couple of years to rectify. But the intention is that, the intention is that nobody would carry leave into retirement.
Great, thank you.
Perfect. Any other questions at this time? No? Tu peux continuer, Annick?
Je vais aller aux états financiers. I'll do a bit in French, but I'll switch to English early, I guess. Donc, les premières pages, la page 2, c'est la responsabilité de la direction à l'égard des états financiers. Fait qu'à cause que c'est des états financiers selon les normes comptables du secteur public, qu'elle a montré. Donc, ça montre que ce n'est pas nos états financiers comme auditeurs, mais c'est ceux qui sont préparés par la direction. Then after that, there's the independent auditor's report. So basically, it clean financial, clean opinion, so that in all material respects, the financial statements present financial position of the municipality at December 31st and the results of its operations for the year that ended. There is another restatement this year, so similar to last year. So if you remember, basically subdivisions that had been transferred to the township from developers hadn't all been recorded. So most of it had been fixed last year. There was one that hadn't been caught. So from discussions with the treasurer, they believe that they're all included now, but it's just making the position better. So it's not something that was intentionally missed. I won't go into details of the rest of the auditor's report, so it's basically standard wording. Again, assuming council approves, we'll be able to sign and finalize it. On page 6, you have the statement of financial position, and if you remember the appendix A where we posted or proposed or shown, I guess, the entries, there's not a lot of adjusting entries that were proposed. So what you see here is basically what we received to audit, so it shouldn't be come as a surprise. So at the top, you have the financial assets. So assets that will be easily transferred to cash or cash. It's at 30.9 million. Then we show liabilities at 35 million for the net debt at 4.3, and then non-financial assets at 170 million for accumulated surplus as of December 31st, 2022 of 165 million. But should be looked at with note 14 because most of these have been either already committed or already spent. So when we get to the notes, that's one that if you look at one of the notes, that's one to look at. So page 7, there's a statement of operations and the consolidated financial statements because they include the township, the library board, and PVR as well. So at the top you have the revenues, again being PSAB, we also show budget and comparative from last year, so 32 million of regular revenues, we'll get to that after. Then expenses at 30.2 million, and then other revenues, so basically those are the ones that are for capital, tangible capital assets. So at 9.4 million for a surplus of the year of 11.2. Then that's where we reconcile the prior adjustment. I guess just one thing I'll add there. So you see a surplus, but anytime there's revenues for capital assets, it's shown the year it's received, and then the asset will be amortized, which will show losses or more expenses in the future. On page 8 is where this net debt is reconciled, so how we went from the 5.3 at the end of 2021 to the 4.3 at the end of 2022. Page 9, statement of cash flows reconciles the cash at the end of 2021 to the cash at the end of 2022, so how you went from the 11.5 to 11.7 million. When we get to the accounting policies, so this year there was no change. Well, basically, we won't say there's the same next year with the asset retirement obligation. It's a significant amount of work that needs to be done, so there will be a change on that front. It will affect assets, but also the landfill will have to follow that standard as well. Then we get to the notes. So the first note is a prior period adjustment about the transfer of subdivision that I mentioned. Là, je propose pas en détail dans les autres. C'est vraiment juste plus d'informations des postes à l'état de situation financière ou l'état des résultats. Par contre, la note 14 à la page 22, c'est une là, qui montre le détail du 165,9 millions que je mentionnais tantôt. Donc, qu'est-ce qui est réserve, des fonds de réserve, puis investi ou déjà dépensé autrement, là, comme les immobilisations corporelles, etc. And then after, for the other notes, it's just more information again of what's already provided. So unless there's questions, I don't propose to go into details.
Question? D'autres questions? No? Anything to add, Mr. Fonan?
I think, Mr. Mayor, no, nothing particular to that. I apologize for the absence of the treasurer. He took ill yesterday, so we're winging it a little bit from the administration perspective.
Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup, Madame Lachaux. Plaisir comme toujours. Nice to see that there's no significant minor little adjustments, but overall glad to see that staff are doing an incredible job as they always do in our treasury in our finance department, and I know Monsieur Godin, if he was here, he would be thanking his team. So on behalf of Monsieur Godin, I thank his team and everyone who is working with you. So it's much appreciated. Parfait. Merci beaucoup. With that, we'll move on to the next item, which is 11A, update regarding the presentation schematic design, 30% for the Recreation Complex Report PR 07-2023. That council received report PR 07-2023 dated May 8, 2023, and approved the village schematic design. We've had the discussion at the last meeting. We've all had a chance to, with the report. Madame Guittard, did you want to just highlight some of the information in the report?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. So following the April 5th meeting, there were some concerns that were raised by council members. And we had received at the administration the direction to go and seek some information with different users, different operators that have similar facilities that we are anticipating to build as the village concept, which we did. So in the report, we do mention that we had two interesting conversations with Mr. Sean McCann from Canland Sports in the Toronto area, and also with a Mr. John Cook, also from the Toronto area, from Buckingham Sports. So Canland Sports was a very similar facility that we are anticipating to build. So they have, instead, like, there's some differences, of course, with the number of change rooms, but other than that, the change rooms were all grouped into one section. So for him, there was, according to him, there was no altercations between the public and the players. So it usually goes well. With Mr. John Cook, one point that he had raised with us was the access to the rinks, because at that point we were showing only one access to the 3 rinks, which we have addressed since then, that you probably had noticed on the schematic that we've incorporated with the report tonight. So in our opinion, we are still recommending the concept of the village for different reasons. We also saw some differences also with the forest concept that we prefer with the village, like the seating for the spectators is at grade. So for us, it's an accessibility betterment, if you want, to the facility. For the track, that is a separate, completely separate entity from the ice rinks. The compact layout, of course, for the change rooms. And since then, we've had some further discussions for the change rooms. So we've also recommending that each change room, which would be 12 change rooms total, 4 for each rink, would have a separate, if you want, separate room for no gender. So you'd have your big room and then a door, connecting door to the no gender section. So then at one point when coaching session comes up, you just open the door and everybody's all together. There would also be a private separate door connecting to the hallway for that no gender room. So if by any other function we want to use this room and it's not being used as a no gender, this could be used also for another function if you want.
Okay, perfect. Questions? Conseiller Larin?
Yeah, just so everyone's on the same page. When we say no gender, we also mean girls that play on boys' teams or people that identify differently,
Yep.
so that the sport is inclusive to all. Some people may not want to change in the same room as others, so there will be that ability for them to change in a separate room, and they're included in the team. I've been pushing for that. I applaud the fact that we're gonna be able to make that happen. Probably be one of the first to do it this way, which I think is absolutely the way we should be going. So I'm very happy to hear that those are going to be incorporated into the design. That room will allow for a separate door entrance to go in and an attaching door within the actual change room. So that way there. You're going to allow coaches, male coaches for female teams, female coaches for male teams to have their own separate area if they want, if there's no issue with players. So I'm very happy about that aspect, but we call it no gender, but it's
Yeah.
for, you know, anybody that doesn't want to change in that room or cannot change according to Hockey Canada, because at the Pee-wee age, which is U13, if I'm not mistaken, U13, Hockey Canada states that you can no longer have boys and girls changing in the same dressing room if they're on the same team, whether it's a competitive team or a house league team. So I very much applaud that fact that we're gonna incorporate that during this process. So thank you.
Parfait.
And also, there was a discussion about the size of those rooms. So the existing change rooms right now, if we take Russell, because they have the biggest rooms, are 400 square feet. So we were contemplating 600 square feet, and we could reconfigure within the room how big would the no gender section would be compared to the other attached room.
Okay.
And also, we would have a room for a junior A or B / dedicated to the junior hockey. And there would be an extra room also for whatever we want to use it. So it would be an extra room. So if we have some off-ice training that we want to do, so this also would be extra space. So we might try to do also 2 rooms, so we'll see the space that we will be working with. So those are extra rooms that we'd like to probably add around the change room area.
Okay.
And then we have the referee rooms. There was also discussion about the location of the referee rooms. So the referee rooms, with the architect, we located that maybe we could situate them at the north of the rinks, where that gray area you could see there, the gray
Right.
area. So right now, it's some of it is dedicated to the bony room, the mechanical room, but you got the whole length of the pad. So we could find some space for 3 different referee rooms. Right now, we have an existing referee room. The biggest one in Russell, again, is 184 square feet, and we're proposing 269 square feet. So we could definitely fit 6 comfortable referees in the same room, again, with showers and bathrooms within each room. It's important to say also that all change rooms will have their own shower, toilet, and sink. Same thing for the no gender, shower, sink, and toilet. So that's the changes we've all already identified, plus the way that the access that we've added to each rink. So we're showing you how the players could access each rink. So we think that this way would be safe. Nobody would meet anyone. So if you take, let's say, for example, the left-hand side, the blue one would access the right corner, the back right corner, and the green one we're deciding right now, should we do the middle or the highest one? I've had some suggestions that maybe the highest one is the best one, so we'll see for that. I've also had a discussion about the players' bench, that probably the bench would be better on this side, so the players don't have to cross the whole ice. If they have to leave for emergency and stuff like that, they're closer. So those are all details that can be worked after the 30%, of course, because those are more detailed items.
Right,
But it's
because-
just, for conversation, I just wanted to point this out tonight.
Thank you very much. Yeah, because right now, at the 30% level, we are really very much 10,000 feet in the air.
Yes.
As we get down into the 60,
Yes.
the 90,
Yes.
that's where those conversations, and we start drilling down into the finer details.
Yeah.
But it's nice to see that, at the 30% stage, obviously, we're still able to make changes
That's
based on conversations.
Yeah.
Conseil Larrey?
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, Madame Guital, that you've also mentioned about the middle rink, incorporating the parental seating in
Yes.
the arena,
Yes.
not necessarily all behind the glass.
No.
But with potential for, just
There will be
scenic
yeah.
benches there to look through just as you're passing by kind of thing.
We'll have both. We'll have seating inside and seating outside. And of course, those benches could be used for public skating. whenever we have that. People can just sit on the bench, leave their boots there. Or if people are more comfortable sitting in the warm area, they could still sit there and view the game on the middle rink.
The other aspect that I know we discussed earlier and hasn't been incorporated in anything yet, and it's probably more of a probably 90-degree design phase or whatever, it's a small detail, but it's around the seating of the big rink,
Yep.
is to have that rail,
Yes,
where you can put your arm up with a little rail all the way around, so that you have that extra space for standing room to watch the game in behind the people sitting there. It gives you that extra capacity and extra viewing, and people that want to stand, and if they have their drink, they have somewhere to put it
Yeah.
and whatnot. So I've seen that design in the Minto Barhaven one. So if you need a reference point, check out the Minto Barhaven Sensplex, and they have the rail there as you come out to the rink. I don't like how the rink it's up high, but just the concept of having the seats and then the stand-up bar.
Future conversations.
yeah.
Yeah, but it's good to get it on the record as quickly as possible.
Yeah, it's been written down. And like I said, a lot of those details comes right after tonight, if the report is approved, after the 30%, because we'd like to present this at the Class C, which would be probably towards the end of June. So that would be part of Class C, the next step.
Okay, perfect. Other questions? Seeing none? Okay. Anything to add, Mr. Fon and Madame Guital? We're good?
No, thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to the next item. Item 11C, rapport sur le statut du budget capital pour la période 2022, Q4, rapport AM 01-2023, que le Conseil reçoit le rapport AM 01-2023, daté du 8 mai 2023, à titre d'information. Questions, comments, members of council? We don't have our treasurer here, but we can try and address them if you have questions. None? Okay, we'll move on to the next item, item D, which was financial report for 2022, report FS 12 2023. The council received report FS 12 2023 dated May 8, 2023, and acknowledged receipt of the final financial report 2022. Questions, comments, members of council? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next one. Item E, final tax rates for 2023, report FS 14 2023. The council received report FS 14 2023 dated May 8, 2023, and approved the proposed bylaw establishing the 2023 final tax rates for all categories, which sets a tax increase of 4% as approved by council with the 2023 budget. Questions, comments, members of council? I just want to point out one item. I had the discussion with Mr. Godin last week when I asked the question. So in the report, the final paragraph, it says, with the 2023 assessment and ratio information now known, we can state that a 4% tax increase represents $159,384 in additional revenues. It is not 4%, it's actually 1%, as when we did our budget. 1% was roughly $150K, so I just want to clarify that. With that, if there's no further questions, on va aller au prochain item. Item F, modification du règlement sur les enseignes, ajout de la section 10.9, possibilité d'emploi, rapport PIC 03-2023. Que le Conseil reçoive le rapport PIC 03-2023, daté du 8 mai 2023, et, tel que recommandé dans ce rapport, approuve la modification proposée au règlement sur les enseignes 2016-052, en modifiant l'article 10, enseignes temporaires, et en ajoutant l'article 10.9, possibilité d'emploi. Questions, commentaires? Conseiller Lalonde?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just had a point of clarification to understand whether someone who gets a temporary arrangement for 30 days is allowed to renew that after the end of that 30 days, or is that just a one-time accommodation?
Through you, Mr. Fon and Madame Bordeaux?
Yes, if you look at section 10.9.4, it states that there's a period of 15 days between that must be observed. This is a bylaw that was passed during COVID,
Yes.
and
We're
we
ju-
had to revisit it, so now it's going to be passed if approved tonight.
Yeah, we're making it permanent because it was a temporary measure, so. Monsieur Lalonde?
Just to follow up, it says that it can't be put on residential property. Are there any other restrictions? Could a sign by a business go on another business's property, or is?
Madame Bordeaux?
Yes, businesses are allowed to post signs on their own property, but this one is an exemption where somebody could post it elsewhere due to the lack of visibility sometimes business have.
Conseiller Lalonde?
Just to clarify, so what could be examples of that? That if they didn't put it at their business, but could put it somewhere else?
Yeah.
For
like we-
example,
I was going to go, but go ahead.
somebody in the business park here, behind here, if they wanted to post a business employment opportunity, they could put it at anywhere on the main street so people could see it. As if they post it in the back, nobody's going to see it.
Yeah, there's actually one right now, I believe, at the lot owned by the Emblem Co-op. They have a sign looking for staff, and I think it's A&A something in the industrial park that has that sign there, so. No problem. D'autres questions, commentaires? Quelque chose d'autre à ajouter, Madame Bourdeau? No? Okay. Moving on, next item, item G, Community Grants Contribution Report PR 06-2023. That council received report PR 06-2023 dated May 8th, 2023, and support the following departmental recommendation in regard to a community grant. 1, to decline an in-kind grant request in the amount of $1,650 to Ambassador Ministries in Covenant, AMIC, for the church service to be held on Sunday morning from May 7, 2023 to December 17, 2023. 2, to decline an ad hoc grant request in the amount of $1,000 to École Sainte-Thérèse d'Avila for the theater play to be held on May 4th, 2023. Questions, comments, members of council? Councillor Deakin.
Regarding the first one there, I was really pleased to see a discount offered, especially given that I know this particular group has had difficulty having been in the Legion and that building having a fire in Russell. So I was pleased to see that the township was able to offer that and that a precedent had been set in the past as well for that.
Okay, perfect. Any other questions or comments? Anything to add to the report, Madame Guittard?
No, thank you. So we will advise the group that council would approve the 25% if this is your wish.
Okay. We'll move on. Item 12, reports from investigator and the ombudsman. We have none. Item 13, avis de motion, we n'a pas. Item 14, question period on the meeting of the day. I'll ask anyone who has a question in regards to the agenda to please come up to the lectern, state your name and address for the record, and ask your question.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Charles Armstrong, 8 Castlepool Street in Embrun. I happened to read through the Ontario Human Rights Code over the weekend and noted that Section 1 prohibits the discrimination. Section 1 applies to municipalities too, by the way. Prohibits discrimination in terms of benefits, services, or facilities based on creed. How is that section of our community grants bylaw justified based on religion?
Mr. Fonan?
Mr. Mayor, I don't want to turn this over to Madame Guittard, but I think we're differentiating between banning somebody from an enterprise and banning them from, not banning them, but ensuring consistency in the application of policies with regard to rental. I don't know if Mrs. Guittard wants to add to this.
Quelque chose à ajouter, Madame Guitard?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I think the way the policy was written years ago, it was to make sure that we were not, how can I say that, giving preferences, if you want, to religious groups because those are not open public activities. They're more for just a specific group. And the community groups are community grant program is for community events that everybody can access. So
So, for
that's-
example, if there's a trivia night, everybody's welcome to the trivia
That's right.
night,
That's right,
whatever the case is.
that's right.
What about religious activities, for example, in the Catholic Church? Everybody's available to attend. There's no restriction on what your religion is, or if you declare you have no religion, to attend a Catholic Church service.
Good question. Monsieur Fonin?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm actually willing to look into this a little bit more, a little further to differentiate between practices, for instance, engaging in something which could be exclusionary to one group over another. I think we'll have to look into this a little bit more closely.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any other questions?
My name is Renée Mialik. I'm from Marseille Street. And I don't know if I can ask my question, but
Tu peux poser une question si c'est à propos qu'est-ce qu'il y a sur l'agenda.
c'est concernant le complexe récréatif.
Oui.
Parce que à l'autre réunion, la dernière réunion que j'étais présente, on m'a dit qu'il y avait un autre exemple d'une petite municipalité comme la nôtre qui avait un 3 pads, là, 3 rings and a
Oui.
big complex like you want to have.
Oui.
And I looked into it, and it was the Lakeshore community. And I went and looked to it, and in 2014-15, they built it, and it cost 58 million at the time.
OK. Ta
But
question, madame?
Oui, c'est ça. My question is that they received grant from the provincial government of 13.7 million and the federal government 13.7 million.
Yes.
So I was wondering, are we going to have that too?
So the financial plan that was put in place
Yes.
is so that we can do it on our own. That being said, we will try and get as much money from the province and the federal government as possible. However, we are not at the point in time where we're going to eliminate the project because there is no provincial or federal funding.
Yeah, but I think it's a very important part to have, help from the other.
I do not disagree.
I
However,
understand why you will not.
However, as we know, everybody is short on cash, and we're 440 municipalities in Ontario alone, everybody asking the province for funds. So the way the financial plan was put in place is so that we are able to do it on our own. However, we didn't want to create a plan where it was only happening if we got funding. Because if that's the case, we could be another 10 years, 20 years before the province could come to, or the feds could come to the table. So that's why we've put a financial plan in place that we're able to do it. And just to be clear, approximately 50% of the BAT is not taxation dollars that's paying, it's growth that's paying. Mr. Fonin?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a comment on that. Throughout the life cycle of a project, the administration continues consistently to look for grants and other sources of funding for virtually every one of our projects. I've come to learn that this township spends quite a bit of its effort on looking for money elsewhere. So I have expectation that throughout that life cycle of the project, we will come into some funding, but we certainly don't want to be beholden to that funding to be able to complete the project.
Yeah. And I can also attest that our MP and our MPP are fully aware of this project and that we're going to be knocking at their door.
Okay, and do they approve the project already when you talk with them?
Non, c'est pas à eux autres à approuver, c'est vraiment le côté administratif, puis les ministres, faut qu'ils décident. Mais sont au courant du projet, alors but there are opportunities as funding becomes available through different programs that we're able to apply for.
Okay, so Yes.
Councillor Tarnowski?
Moi, ce serait juste pour clarifier avec Monsieur Fawnin, because I know we've aggressively been going for funding, but I just want to confirm through that is, I think it's a good time to also kind of clarify. We are also looking at private partnerships in the sense of opportunities for sponsorships and so on. Just confirming that.
Mr. Fawnin?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'll defer to Madame Guittard if she has anything additional to add. In terms of sponsorships, those are something we would look at as an adjunct as well, not something to carry the project, perhaps to support the project. So that would be one of the multiple areas that we would look for funding support. I don't know if Madame Guittard has anything she would wish to add.
Madame Guittard?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Yeah, so we've had in the past some discussions with interesting
Parties?
parties, if you want. And they wanted us to come back to the table when we have a concept approved. So now with the 30%, I would feel more comfortable in presenting, so at least they have a clearer idea of what we're going to be proposing. Also, if I can add, in 2020, we did apply for the ICIP through the government, provincial and federal government. Unfortunately, we were denied on the first cut, which was the provincial. So, but yes, we are aggressively looking for grants, and if they do come available, we will definitely apply.
Yeah, and if I remember well, part of the reason was we didn't actually have a project to present. It was all up in the air.
Yeah.
The government, we know, is like any political entity, is on a 4-year cycle, right? So when they're looking for projects, they're looking for projects that are shovel-ready and ready to go, that they can hang their hat on, not something that'll go past the next mandate. Unfortunately, that's a reality of politics. But that's why it's important to move forward with the project. That way we have something concrete that we can present to them. Conseiller Laurent?
Thank you. Just on the same token where we talked about sponsorships and whatnot, I mean, just some of the slight variations that we just discussed tonight with that extra room attached to each dressing room, whether I call it an inclusivity room, there is also possibilities for whether they're grants or funding for those types of specific accommodations that are being made. There's a project out there right now with a very prominent hockey program called the Girls' Bill of Rights. And this is exactly what they're talking about, exactly things that they're looking at. So whether there's opportunities there for funding, we're gonna be examining those as well. I have had initial discussions as well on it with them. So there's definitely possibilities from that perspective. You know, we're far past the time when people should be segregated because nobody thought about changing a change room or adding a change room in the past. You know, people using broom closets and janitor rooms. That's going to go away, and I'm very happy for that. So thank you, Madame Guittard, for getting that input into the design.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci. Other questions?
Mr. Mayor, members of council, Rob Zroski, 138 Tweed, Russell. I have 3 questions regarding the rec complex.
The first one?
First one is communication with the 2 complexes in Toronto. Have any of the local end users been communicated with regarding the complex within the last month or so?
Mr. Fawnin, Madame Guittard, I believe we spoke directly with the companies operating those facilities, correct?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, member of council. I think what Mr. is asking is if I had conversations with locals. Yes, I did.
Okay.
Within the last month?
Within the last week.
Yeah.
And I did also speak to our staff, who will be really the first people in that building. So yeah, we did get some feedback concerning the concept that we were proposing.
Okay.
Okay, because I also talked to those users and they said they'd not been spoken with within the last 2 years.
Well, don't know what to tell you.
I'm just saying that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying
Well,
what the
I think we should be clear that the end users, did we talk with the 1,000 end users? Probably not. Did we talk with key people in organizations? Yes, we did.
Who are they?
I don't think I want to mention any names tonight, because I don't want to put them on the spot, honestly. 'Cause-
What we can do, Madame Guittard, I would suggest, contact them and let
And
them
ask
know
them,
that they
sure.
can speak with the people in their organizations to let them know they had conversation with us.
Okay, because I think that's important, that you mentioned 2 people from Toronto, but, you know, I think it's important that our local community.
Yep,
Yes.
which we've done. Next question?
In the plans, like, I applaud the council for making amendments to the plans. The new routes going from the dressing rooms to the arenas, are those walking through the audience, or are they in their own hallway, or how is that working?
So I believe it's a public area, correct? They're not segregated away from the, we'll just put it up on the screen there.
Please.
So, right, so if you decide to go left, would there be people up that hallway from the public?
Right.
There could be, but there would be no reason to be there, right? Because there's no viewing necessarily from that area.
So, sorry. So this is not seating area to watch this rink,
The seating is inside the.
Is inside the rink.
Inside the rink now.
and this is outside the rink?
That's
right.
correct.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay,
Same with this, this is
That's
outside
right.
the rink.
that's correct.
Sorry, last question. Now that we're kind of at the 30% of the design phase, what are the next, 60%? How are we including more of the
Steps.
community?
Through you, Mr. Fonin or Madame Guittard, it's part of our concept plan, or the plan, correct?
Yeah. So like we mentioned 2 weeks ago, we wanted to do one information night that we will invite public to be present for the finer details. And then also we probably have some conversations, maybe with one-on-ones on more specific groups, just to get more information.
Feedback.
And that will bring us to the end of June, hopefully, for the 60%, which is a Class C. So we're going to be bringing costs according to Class C estimate.
Something to add, Mr. Fonin?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. When we're talking about that next phase of design, we're now talking about the number of bathrooms, where they are, gender-neutral bathrooms, carpeting, wiring. So we're into the nitty-gritty details, which allows them to do a more accurate estimate of cost. So the grand design, the facilities, the access, the scope is what you see on the screen.
Perfect.
One thing that's come up is a question that I've been trying to promote, this word-of-mouth grocery store. A lot of people don't even know this is happening. Is there a way we're going to try to get more of the community involved in this conversation?
So communication is always a challenge. We have our website, we have our social media pages, we have newsletters that are put out in paper, and people can subscribe to newsletters. Unfortunately, communication is a two-way street. People need to want to be informed. Being in business, you know yourself, you can spend millions of dollars in advertising and still have people going, I didn't know. Same thing with the dome. The dome was built, and people ran into me and said, what are you talking about, a dome?
Right.
Right, so we do everything. We put the information, it'll be posted on our billboards, that kind of stuff. But it's thanks to residents like you who are helping to spread that information out to people who unfortunately aren't necessarily paying attention to what's going on at Township. So I think those, Conseiller Lorrain, something to add?
Yeah, and I think once the construction gets put out and tendered and approved and they start that, I would hope we would do something similar to that we did with the dome and with the Jonathan Pither Park, and put the billboard up right in front of the area where it's going, so people know that that is the future site of the recreation complex that's coming with an anticipated opening date attached to it, so that people can drive by and go, oh, the rec complex is going here. Oh, pool, rinks, community center, excellent. So that's what we did with the last two big projects, as we had that out from a communication perspective. So I can only assume, I think the posts are still there. We want to move it down just a little bit, but we still have the posts there and build the signs, so.
Yep, Madame Guittard?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. So if I can add also, our website is always very good for that. We update the page for the rec complex each time we bring in something, and it gets approved to council. So we were waiting for tonight, but definitely as of this next week, if everything goes well, the whole report, the whole new concept for 30% will be put on the page with all the information. And if you look at that page, all the previous reports, everything is there. So if someone really wants to get informed about the rec complex, everything is there.
Yep. Councillor Lorrain?
Or anybody could reach out to any member of council at any point in time by email, by phone, by text, by, other methods, the grocery store, whatever. We are here for the residents of this community, and feel free to reach out, and I'll answer any question. I'm sure every member of council will answer any question that comes up. If we don't know the answer, we'll get the answer, get back to you, so.
No, I think that's really important for the community here too, that the council is here to answer questions, and it was just something that's come up in this conversations over the last 2 weeks, that, this is a great thing that's happening for a community, nobody knows about it. And so that to me is a little bit of a thing that we can work on, and the sign or conversations or anything like that, and it's good to be open, so.
Yep.
That was
Thank you.
my comment.
Councillor Deacon?
I really appreciate that question. Thank you so much, Mr. Zarowski. I just wanted to say that it's one of the things that I think our council is excited to do on this project especially, and the township as well, is shifting from that mentality of doing things for the community and doing things with the community. I know that just since our last meeting, when this decision was deferred, I was able to have a half a dozen really meaningful conversations with folks in the community who gave insights that served conversations for the last week, making these sorts of amendments. And it's an exciting moment, and I'm really thrilled to look at the next 30% and those conversations to be had in more depth, hopefully with members of council, myself included, as well as township staff consulting with specific groups as well. It's not only a good thing to have, it's a must-have. And so I really appreciate your question, and please tell people to reach out to us anytime. I know, speaking for myself, but others here as well, we're always available and doing our best to build those relationships so that over the time we're able to make those good decisions.
No, that's great. Those are my 3 points, and there'll be more. So
Thank you so much.
This is my 3 for tonight.
Any other questions?
Sound a little closer. Joey Abrams, 125 Broadway, over in Russell. Just to kind of follow up on Rob's comment. Has there been any study, my question, yeah, Rob's question, has there been any study about traffic within the dressing room area? Because I can't think of a single arena I've visited in the last 20 years where the dressing rooms weren't completely separate from spectators.
Right.
Going into the arena?
So I'm not sure if you read the report, but as per the report, we've had discussions with facilities that have this kind of setup, and they have no issues.
Okay, and those facilities are named in the report?
They are.
Okay, I'll definitely take a look at that. I did read the report, but obviously skimmed over that. Will the track be available for rink and swimming pool users?
I think in regards to what we're going to do with the track, as our track is now, it's actually, you have to pay to use the track. If you're not, it's part of the membership fees. So if users of the pool or the rinks have a membership to the track, I don't think it would be a problem.
Okay, so then a follow-up question to that would be, last meeting there was discussion about a warm-up facility or a warm-up room, and the gentleman that was here said use the kitchen. It's not practical.
Use a community center.
That's not practical at all. So I'm just wondering where we're at with that.
So at this point in time, Councillor Lorrain?
Yeah, sorry, I don't know if Madame Guital mentioned it earlier, I think she did, is that there are going to be extra dressing room area that from the design now to the next design, and those extra spaces can be designed for warm-up areas for the sports teams that are going to be playing. So there will be somewhere for them to warm up. They may have to take turns to go in at 10 minutes for that group, 10 minutes for that group. And then obviously the next groups come in and there's areas for them to go into, but I think that has been, that has been addressed, which I'm happy about as well.
And lastly, I am the current and ongoing president for the Russell Minor Hockey Association. I'll be going into next year and the year after that. And I had not been contacted. And last meeting, I let everyone know that we're available and more than willing to have these types of user discussions at our meetings. But if I'm not let known or we don't know, we can't have those discussions at our meetings to give you any feedback.
Right.
So
So as pointed out earlier by Madame Guitar, once this is approved, we'll be reaching out to all the different organizations as part of the public consultation. Is that correct?
That's right.
Mr. Fonan?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So following the last meeting where the issues that were raised by the association were made loud and clear, we contacted facilities that actually do use this particular design to get a ground truth from those with actual experience at that particular design. So we're pretty satisfied with the professionals who are using it now. Now, as we go into the second phase, we're looking at more detail. We'll continue with the consultations with various stakeholders to make sure that their voices are heard as well.
Perfect.
thank you.
Thank you very much. Other questions? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next item. Item 15, resolutions. Motion that council approve all recommendations listed on the agenda under item 11, reports from department and council committees. Need a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Conseiller Lorrain, seconded by Councillor Deacon. It's, yeah, and,
I'd like to separate this one out, if you don't mind.
okay, so an
I
amendment.
forgot to ask earlier, I apologize.
Not a problem. So we'll ask to remove item A. Moved by Councillor Lorrain, seconded by Councillor Ternosky. All those in favor of removing item A? Opposed? Carried. So now we're voting on everything except item A. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Now we will vote on item A. Need a mover and seconder. Moved by Councillor Ternosky, seconded by Conseiller Lorrain. Questions, comments? Councillor Ternosky?
If I can ask for a recorded vote, please.
Recorded vote. So, starting off with any other questions?
Not question, but
Yeah.
comments?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So I'm just going to make the comment now so that we're clear, although I appreciated all the information that was provided and the accommodations that were made to the change room area. I still find that the design of the change room area is not satisfactory to the functionality of the facility. And that was my biggest concern the whole time, is the functionality of that area. I understand we've spoken to some operators of the facilities. I'm not doubting what they're saying. However, I've been in many facilities myself, and I haven't seen it like this. And you know what? Maybe I'll eat my words on it. Maybe it'll be a fantastic area. Unfortunately, I don't see it that way right now as designed. And therefore, I won't be voting in favor of the design concept of the village this evening.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, a recorded vote is called, so I'll ask Councillor Lalonde to start.
In favor?
Yes.
No.
Yes. It is approved. OK. Prochain item, numéro 16, règlement. Motion que le Conseil approuve les règlements 2023-056 à 2023-058 inclusivement, en première, deuxième et troisième lecture, tel qu'indiqué sur l'ordre du jour. Besoin d'un proposeur puis un appuyeur, s'il vous plaît. Proposé, Councillor Deacon, seconded Councillor Ternosky. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 17, new business reports, we have none. Item 18A, myself, Limoges Recreation Committee request. This was just to verify with council. I had a request. We used to have a Limoges Citizens Committee, which since I believe a year approximately ago disbanded. There is, however, a Limoges Recreation Committee that's been in existence for quite a while, and they sent me an email last week asking if we would be willing to have a member of council attend their meetings. I was told that it seems that a previous councillor was going there, unbeknownst to us, not as part of, as council representative, but he was going. So now they're asking if we're okay having a council representation. I'm fine with it. Conseiller Lorrain?
Do we know if there's a council member from Nation that is attending that meeting?
I'll have to double check. I would, based on conversations, I believe so. The mayor, who is the mayor now, was previously a councillor. I knew he used to attend. I'm not sure he's been replaced or not, but.
Okay. I think it'd be important that there should be representation on both sides there. If there's going to be one, there should be
Yep.
the other. So I'm going to suggest that we bring this back at the next meeting, if you don't mind, and if we can find out.
Yeah,
Because I think it's a good idea.
yeah,
I just don't think it's right to have one member of council, and I'll use the Marionville committee as an example. There was somebody from Russell on that committee, but there was really nobody from North Dundas and nobody from Ottawa that actually attended the meetings for the most part.
right.
So you've got decisions being made by one area, and I think really from a collaborative approach, I think there should be, so.
Right. So just to clarify, when we sit on these citizens committee, we don't actually have a voting voice, right? We're just there as a information purposes if they have questions. Yeah, yeah. It's important to have everybody at the table. In this case, if council is in agreement to having a member of council attend those meetings, then we can definitely, we'll have to change our committee bylaw and make it one of the official committees. So that wouldn't be done tonight, that would be done at the next. Councillor Deacon?
Yeah, I'm just, as a new council member as well, I'm wondering what are the expectations when that is formalized in terms of the members that are already on that committee? Is it, if there is representation from the nation, does that become some sort of a joint committee?
No, because as the committee itself is made up of citizens, and then if there is a member of council from both sides, it's not a council of committee, it's just it's not a committee of council, it's a public committee where we're asked to attend. Similar, like the Police Village Trustees, we used to have the Historical Society, we used to have Night Watch.
And our administration, for example, isn't acting as a secretariat?
No,
in any
nothing
sense?
like
Okay.
that. So if we're okay, is anybody interested in sitting in that committee? If there's no interest, I can do it. I'm fine attending, but I just want to make sure if somebody else wants it, you're more than welcome to have it. Yep.
Raising my hand to speak and not necessarily volunteer, but I, I do find it really beneficial to sit around these tables at different community organizations and always appreciate those invitations. I would definitely be interested in going once in a while at the very least to have that presence and that knowledge for myself and how it feeds into how I serve here. So not necessarily all the way through, but I would like to rotate or be interested in that, yeah.
So it just, for information purposes, it's the first Wednesday of each month from 7 to 10 p.m. That's when they hold their meetings. So give it some thought. I think we're in agreement that somebody can sit on the committee, so we can bring back at our next meeting, the committee bylaw to be adjusted. And if at that point in time, we can decide, we'll leave it blank and we can put a member of council at that time. If you need any more information, then let me know. I can pass along some contact information as well. Everybody's good with that? Councillor Tarnowski?
Just to confirm Councillor Laurent's request to find out if there's someone from Nation on that.
Yep, I'll find out if somebody from Nation attends as well. Okay, perfect. Next item was myself, item B. This is more for information purposes and thought process, and we can discuss it at our next meeting in a few weeks. Our June 26th meeting, I'm going to be out of the country. And I believe Councillor Tarnowski is out of the country as well. So it's going to be down to 3. So I might ask that we consider virtually at that point in time. I can log in from wherever I'm going to be, or possibly switching the date to either sometime in July or, that's probably so give it some thought, just letting you know. Councillor Larre?
Just based on some information tonight from Madame Guital for the rec complex, I think she mentioned 60% coming at the end of June.
Right.
So if the meeting were to be held mid-July, I think the 17th there's a date of the 17th or the 24th, I think are are the two after everyone would be back, would that significantly delay the timetable? Or do we need to bump that to the week before?
So.
I'm just asking because I don't think virtually would be well received for that type of
No, I tend to agree to that. Mr. Fonnet, Madame Guitard, the timeline we have is the 60%, has that been adjusted for the last 2 weeks that we just pushed back? So
Yeah.
it's already being pushed back
Yep.
further 2 weeks?
Yep.
I'm not sure. Cherches-tu la feuille, c'est ça? And can you put on the screen, it was for 11A. It was the schedule,
We had around, yeah, sorry. We had around June 18th or 19th, so maybe we could do it the week before. What I could do is I could double check with the architect tomorrow if the Class C, and also the project management, because they're the ones who are doing it, the cost estimates for the Class C. So I can check with them tomorrow if it's doable, because we had a week delay here, so we could check if it's doable for that June 18th. According to their schedule, it is.
Okay. So perhaps have some discussions on your end and come back to council at the next meeting and
Yeah.
have some potential
Because
options.
then after that, if we go like almost a month later in July,
Yeah,
that could potentially delay the Class B.
okay. Conseiller Lorrain?
Sorry, when I look at this, we've got it looks like Class C for 531, but Class B for 725. It's Class B plus 60%. Is that what I'm reading Is that how I'm reading that?
Yeah, it was 31st of May, but because we had like a week of delay now, it's gonna be
Right.
pushed a bit in June.
Okay.
So that's why we were, if you look at the red
So-
line, it says around like the 18th of June, because we were trying to figure out which council meeting
Oh, okay.
was better, so we were kind of,
So we can get
around
it,
that.
if we can get it for the first meeting in June, then that would obviously be better.
yeah, I'll check with them if it's doable.
We still want to have those public consultations as well,
Yeah,
so
'cause the
those
Class
have
B
to fit in there
Yeah,
as
the
well.
Class B, I would probably bring this back in August, at our August meeting, since it would be completed around, towards the end of July. And there's always, I need some time to make up a report, so.
Okay. All right, so food for thought. Councillor Lalonde?
Yeah, no, I just was thinking the same thing, the public consultation, so we need to
Yeah.
fit these things in. The public's looking forward to that, so are the user groups.
Yeah, definitely. So next meeting, see what the administration can come up with as far as potential solutions go. For the record, 3 members of council can still hold that meeting. Just 2 of us won't be there. Okay, next item, item 19, public consultations and hearings. We have none. Item 20, annonce, il n'y a pas... oh, excuse, oui. Announcements. Conseiller Lalonde and Councillor Deacon, my apologies.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to take a second to, we lost last week one of our great builders in the community of Russell, a volunteer from long time back. Dick Sherwood passed away last week, and I just wanted to recognize very briefly what it is that Dick Sherwood did for our community, going as far back as 1967, when he was on the inaugural Centennial Pool Committee, which he helped get started and remained on that committee all the way to 1977. He was also a village trustee. He was around at the time where the village lagoon and sewer system for Russell was put in place. He also helped to revive the scouting movement in Russell in 1972 and was its scoutmaster till 1982. Dick Sherwood also was honored more recently in 2011 with a bronze plaque at the entrance to the J. Henry Tweed Conservation Area in Russell. He was, I guess the conservation area was dedicated to him. It's now the Dick Sherwood Trail. He helped to develop it back in the day and promote its use for recreation and learning purposes. So I just thought we would honor him today, and may he rest in peace.
Thank you very much for sharing that, Conseiller Lalonde. Councillor Deacon?
Don't know how I'm going to follow that one. He's quite the legend. That's great. In one of the meet and greets that I had with residents in the last week, I received a comment from a resident that I wanted to share with administration. One gentleman said, "I have lived here for 31 years, and it's clear, especially lately, that township is about more than flash and words. Staff care about the community, and it shows. They are noticing things that are broken, and they are fixing them. There is a real stewardship of the community." So I wanted to share that tonight.
Thank you very much. It's nice to hear, we hear a lot of the negative side of things, but it's nice to point out the positive as well, because our staff do an incredible job. Thank you very much for that. With that, Madame Guiton?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Maybe I can bring an announcement because they have not been on for 3 years, the last 3 years. It's going to be the Pout Master this weekend. So I think that's a very welcome back.
Yes.
For a lot of people. So I think the Kin Club is hosting the Pout Master, and I'm glad this is a great activity for all the families.
Thank you for reminding us, Madame Guiton. Yes, people who are interested in the Pout Masters event can go to the Kin Club of Russell website, and the information for registration is there, and it's always an event that is well attended by our youth in the community, and it's a good time for all, so thank you. With that, we will move on. Item 21, closed sessions, we have none. Item 22, confirming bylaw that bylaw 2023-059 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Russell at its regular council meeting held on May 8, 2023, be read a first, second, and third time and passed. Need a mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Tarnowski and Conseiller Lorrain. All those in favor? All those opposed? Carried. Next meetings, the next special public meeting of council will be held on Tuesday, May 16th, 2023. The topic of discussion is in regards to servicing the 417 Industrial Park. And then the next regular public meeting of council will be held on Tuesday, May 23rd, 2023. I just realized that's my 25th anniversary, and should be an interesting day. So we are adjourned at 11 p.m. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a great evening.